Troy Slaten is a criminal defense attorney and a former California prosecutor. He's in the CBS News Los Angeles bureau. Troy, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Let me ask you, how strong of a case do you think the family has against Apple, and why?
It seems pretty weak. Certainly there's no criminal liability on behalf of Apple. And as far as civil liability, the family would have to prove that Apple owed them a duty of care and then breached that duty, causing this accident. And that's the issue. The FaceTime app was not the proximate cause of the accident. It would be like suing somebody who, the manufacturer of a laptop, because a person was running a movie next to them, or any other application that would distract a driver.
Even so, though, Troy, according to the lawsuit, the family says Apple is negligent because it failed to enact lockout capabilities on the phone in question. So what do you make of that argument? Is it unprecedented?
It's not unprecedented. People are looking for the deep pockets. The plaintiff's attorney here is doing much like what we call in the law the spaghetti method of finding liability. Just throw up on the wall and see what sticks. Obviously, Apple's got deep pockets, but it's not going to be successful here because if Apple were to enable that type of restriction, it would unfairly limit all types of other users of the application, like people on buses or taxis or passengers in cars. There are very good uses for applications on the phone, and even legal uses like a map function, navigation functions.
And you talked about this at the top, but once again, what would the family's attorneys have to do to prove that there is liability here on the part of Apple?
They would have to prove that Apple knew that this was a danger and they ignored that risk. So that's just not going to happen because Apple, it would be unfair for all the other users of that great application, FaceTime. Heck, I use it, not while driving, but if Apple were to engage that type of restriction, then anyone who's a passenger in a car would not be able to use it. And that seems like going overboard. The real person who's responsible here is the driver. And if the driver was distracted by FaceTime or any other application or thing, then that's on him.
Well, a similar lawsuit was filed recently against Snapchat when a user crashed into another car, causing the victim to be permanently brain damaged. Do you think these suits could potentially give rise to additional lawsuits of this nature?
They could if they're successful, or if the person thinks that Apple may just settle with them. And that's what sometimes happens in these types of lawsuits. A big corporation like Apple or Snapchat, like you mentioned, may want to settle the lawsuit in order to avoid the costs of litigation, the bad publicity, and so forth. And so sometimes people think that if they sue, the person with the deepest pockets may just give them some money to make them go away. And look, what happened here was absolutely tragic. There was a young girl that lost her life, but it's really not Apple's fault.
Yeah, that little girl's name was Mariah Modisette. All right, criminal defense attorney Troy Slaten, thank you so much for your analysis. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Elaine.